The Mount Tabor Preservation Project is proud to present you with a video tour of the historic Mount Tabor Church. Explore the significant treasure as Carmen James and friends take you on a fascinating guided tour of the church and two neighboring cemeteries. Be sure and see the whole tour by clicking the link in the video or in the video's description.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carmen James, and I'm a member of the Mount Tabor Preservation Project. We're a group of former congregants, descendants, residents, historians, and preservationists who've come together to make sure that the Mount Tabor Church, which is right behind me, is preserved and recognized. We decided to do a video because of the recent events and the limitation of gathering of large groups. We found that our donations have dwindled and the sharing of the information about this piece of Cumberland County history is not being shared as much as we'd like it to do. So we decided that a video posted to as many avenues as we can have it posted, as well as on our Facebook page, as well as on our website, would help make people aware of this piece of almost forgotten, definitely hidden for a number of years until 2016, piece of African American history in Mount Holly Springs. This is the Mount Tabor Church. It's circa 1870, and it has been recognized by a number of organizations. We're in the back of the Mount Tabor Church right now, and what I'd like to talk about is the foundation. As I said, shortly we're going to start the first phase of our preservation project, and that is preserving the foundation. The foundation is made of beautiful South Mountain. We're at the base of the South Mountain, and anybody who lives here knows when they're putting in a garden or putting in fence posts how blessed we are with South Mountain stone. So we know we'll be able to replenish any of our foundation just from what's around us if the need occurs. We also have chinking. This chinking looks like it may have been newer and done as a patch or a preservation process over the years. You can see the logs. You can also see the damage that the logs have had from termites. And then we also have German cladding. So those are the things, the South Mountain Foundation, we have the cladding, we have the logs, and we have the chinking, we have the logs, and we have the cladding. All right, we've moved inside to the sanctuary. It's one room sanctuary. It's actually one floor, and then we have an attic that's half floor. But this would be where the services were kept. Were held every Sunday. Sunday school was every Sunday. Church was done by a minister that rotated between other congregations. So you didn't always have a Sunday service, but you had Sunday school every Sunday. So what we have here are two stories. We have in 2016 when people went through the window and pried open the door, it was like a time capsule. The doors had been closed. The church had been closed up in 1970, and for approximately 50 years stood vacant. With all of the material, paper products, furniture, everything stayed within the church, and this is what it looked like. And one Sunday, I was going through family pictures and I found this at my mother's house, and it's almost the exact picture, only taken in different angles. And it shows you what the church looked like in the late 60s, right before it closed in 1970. Here are the pulpit chairs. You can see the difference. You can see this was a table where we would walk up and put our collection money in that pewter plate, and there were two chairs on either side of the plate. There was also where the minister stood, and you could see where his Bible was. The Bible is missing in this story, in this picture. And the biggest missing in this picture, and you can see that it's not here, is this picture of Jesus. Every child that attended Sunday school would remember, no matter where they sat in the sanctuary, Jesus' eyes would follow you. You'd sit on that side, he would watch you, he would sit on this side. Ethel Gumby was the Sunday school teacher for everyone. She died about 3 years ago at the age of 91. I can remember asking her, his eyes are following me. Why are his eyes following me? And she told me, I was about 6, God is always watching. That was a little unsettling as a child. As an adult, I find it very comforting. But again, this picture went missing from the sanctuary. There were a number of items that were taken while the church sat abandoned. So I always tell the story of the Jesus picture because we hope that whoever has it or knows where it is would bring it back. No question is asked. And we pray for you every day. And we pray that we get our picture of Jesus back. And so, as I said, this is a story of old and what it looked like in the late 60s, right before it closed. Further into the sanctuary, you'll see this post, and in front of this post, there was the only heating system for the church for the winter. It was a coal-burning stove that had a stovepipe that went to the ceiling, which you'll see at a later shot. And also there is a vent to heat the attic that I talked about before, which is only half story. And that the heat supposedly from the coal stove would go through that opening to heat the second floor. One of the things I also wanted to point out is, as I said before, one of the reasons we're doing this video is to make people aware, to do the tour, because we can't get people to come out and hear our story about Mount Tabor. One of the last tours we had, this was the last tour. It was done December 7th. Yes, December 7th, 2019. That was the last tour that we were able to have here because of the shutdown and because of the virus. So we keep this here as a reminder that the last Dickinson College students came and did a tour with their professor, Dr. Lindsay Varner, who is also a member of the Mount Tabor Preservation Project and recently moved to Vermont to take on the responsibility of a museum that's located there, and we do miss her. And I wanted to make sure that I made that part of the video because we wouldn't be where we are today if it hadn't been for her dedication and her appreciation of history, all history, especially history that had not been recognized. All right, we're back into the back of the sanctuary, and I'm basically standing on the pulpit. And this is a strange experience because as a former child attending Sunday school, you were not permitted to be on the pulpit. The minister was on this portion of the pulpit, and in front there's a small platform, and that's usually where the Sunday school teachers or elders would sit with a table and a pewter plate for collection. There was also I would say a border that was in front of the lower part of the pulpit. And during our celebrations for Easter's and Christmas, when we would stand up and recite our poems in front of our parents and the rest of the congregation, we would stand in front of that border and recite our poems. And I can remember that was the first time that most of us did any type of public speaking. So, you know, how successful we are today as far as public speaking is concerned, we can go back and pull on our memories from learning that process and getting critiques from our Sunday school teacher on how to have eye contact and how to hold your hands and how to project your voice. Those are all stories that as adults now we stand around and we talk about the things that have carried us through into adult life. While we're on the pulpit, I would like to point out some additional stories. We have pulpit chairs, and if you focus really hard, you're able to see where the pastor's chair and the two side chairs were outlined from sitting for years and years in the same position. As I said, the church was abandoned for nearly 50 years, and those chairs sat there and were only visited by critters that found their way into the church when they were restored, and they have been restored. When they were restored, we found lots and lots of, we would like to say cat hair. We're not quite sure, we'll call it cat hair on the cushions. Those restored pulpit chairs have been donated to the Cumberland County Historical Society, and they are currently on display in the museum on the second floor. The museum and the Cumberland County Historical Society is located at 21 North Pitt Street in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. It is open to the public. And you're able to see the pulpit chairs restored. They were restored by former residents of Mount Holly Spring, Joan and her husband Jay McBride, and Candy Ward. What you're looking at now are the logs, original logs, and original chinking that's leading up to the second floor of the Mount Tabor building. We've been told by experts that based on the hewing of the logs, that these logs were from the 1860s. So that again adds questions to our stories as to, was this an original building or was this a building that was recycled? We do know the foundation was done by Elias Parker, who was a mason and a carpenter, but we're not sure if the building was original or recycled. All right, we're standing in front of the cemetery. This cemetery was utilized by the community on Mountain Street and Cedar Street and other locations in Mount Holly. When African Americans were buried in the 1800s, this was the location that they came to as their final resting spot. I'm introducing David Toner, who's standing with me next to the lilac tree. David his mother was a former Sunday school teacher as well at Mount Tabor. Mount Tabor was created because that was the only place for African Americans to worship during the 1800s. It was created out of segregation, but it was always a very inclusive church. We have David's mother teaching Sunday school from time to time. David also attending, even though he doesn't really remember that much. And other neighbors that were on Mountain Street that were not African American also attended the church. And it's amazing that once people hear about Mount Tabor and us collecting stories, how many of them share their stories of how they stopped by Mrs. Gumby's home to ask if they could attend church, and she would say, sure, all are welcome. So we're standing next to one of two lilac trees. And as I said, the story of Elias Parker was that he came over the South Mountain with his Aunt Ethel from Maryland after his first wife died. Again, he was a Civil War veteran, and he was also formerly enslaved. In her apron, his Aunt Ethel's apron, were the cuttings of lilac trees. Those lilac trees are still located on Mountain Street, but what we decided to do was plant two lilac trees that are more traditional trees and a lovely example of a tribute to the people that are buried in this particular cemetery. Again, these are lilac trees, and this is the second summer for them. They were dedicated last year at a ceremony to award the Eagle Scout, who, along with the neighbors and his scout troop, erected the fence. It was donated. And again, periodically during our stories, I talk about donations that are made to the church, and we're very happy, and we want to make sure that everybody's acknowledged. If you go to our website, mounttaborpreservation.com, there is a page that says thank you, and you'll see everyone that's contributed, and either by donating money, time, services, or goods listed on that page. The list is so long. It could always get longer, but the list is long, and we don't want to miss anyone. So please visit that thank you page and see all the people that were part of making us so far successful in our preservation and our restoration. Again, these are our lilac trees.
Be sure and see the whole tour by clicking the link in the video or in the video's description.